we have your attention, please? We'll be starting up shortly. Good evening and a Happy New Year, and welcome to the January 6, 2014 Lowell Planning Board meeting. Tonight we do have one public hearing on. Prior to the public hearing, we're going to entertain Speaker Mr. Genman requested to address the planning board this evening. As many of you know, he has left the planning board and has been elected to the school committee, and we wish him well, and he asked if he could address the board. So Mr. Genman, come forward, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for giving me just a minute here tonight. I was disappointed when our December meeting got canceled, even though I had Christmas shopping to do, but I was disappointed because I wanted the opportunity just to bid farewell to all of you guys. I've been a long day today. I've had my own little version of planes, trains, and automobiles, but I made it back in time to make this meeting, and just wanted to say what a pleasure it's been to serve with all of you. And I know that sounds trite, but it's the truth. It really has been. I feel I've learned an awful lot in the last almost 8 years. Time has flown by as I've served on this board. I've learned a lot from each one of you. I don't think people realize the amount of work it is to serve on a board like this, and you guys do it right. You come prepared to every meeting. You do your homework, and I sincerely feel as though you all always vote on what you feel is the best interest of the city. So it's been really a pleasure to serve with you. I've learned an awful lot, and it's been a pleasure to serve with the planning department. I think these guys do a terrific job. We have a dedicated planning staff here in Lowell. We're lucky to have them, and the city's very lucky to have guys like you who are willing to invest their time to serve the city. So thank you for your service. Thanks for letting me sit alongside you for almost 8 years, and I'm not going anywhere, so I'm sure I'll see you around town. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Wish you well.
Okay. I'm going to keep my plaque as a souvenir,
Absolutely.
if that's okay.
Okay, moving along, we have a site plan, which is 150 Wood Street. This was continued from our November 18th meeting. The Lowell Planning Board will hold a public hearing to hear all interested persons relative to an application by Kazanton Enterprise seeking site plan review for development located at 150 Wood Street. The proposal consists of 2 new commercial buildings, preservation of the existing residential building, and construction of a parking lot with access from Wood Street and Westford Street. The proposed project is located in the suburban mixed-use zoning district and requires site plan review with the planning board under section 11.4.2. When we were here back on 11/18, we had a presentation by Attorney Curtis. We had speakers by Attorney Ron Close, Alan Kazanjian. A lot of questions came up. There was questions about the conservation conditions, a question about moving the house. A lot of questions came up about that. Question of who the applicant was going to be. One of the traffic issues, had a couple of questions on that. We had a few people who spoke for or against and made some statements. We had Attorney Brenda Mealy speak. We had her concerns mostly dealt a lot with some of the traffic and some of the relocation of the house. We had Mr. Hamlet speak in regards to the removal of the house. We had some comments from board members. And after an request by the applicant to continue the matter and work with DPD on addressing some of the comments that were made and some of the comments that were made by the planning board and planning staff. There was a motion to continue the matter until tonight's meeting, and that's where it brings us. So I'll turn it over this time to Attorney Curtis.
Thank you, members of the Planning Board. Gregory Curtis with the firm of Goldman & Curtis in Lowell. We were here before you back in November, and we had a lot of good input at that point. And also, we had meetings with the Planning Department and also had a very good meeting with all members to discuss trying to keep the Bowers House on the location that is 150 Wood Street. So I think we've come up with a new plan, or basically going back to what was the original plan with some different tweaks on it that I think will hopefully meet all the requirements of the board. Biggest thing is that we are planning to keep the house at its current location. The existing house has been there for hundreds of years. I think there was the best possible scenario to keep it at that location. and also be able to develop the site. We also talked about, as you can see on the plan, we shifted the building rather than being 90 wide along the roadway. We turned it to make it 70 wide and then 90 deep, pushed it a little bit further towards Wood Street. We were hoping, had good input with the city about doing the land swap, which is the Westford Street property and that small parcel on Wood Street that would allow for a little better site view. Unfortunately, the last city council meeting was canceled, and, or maybe it was 2 city council meetings, was canceled. They could not vote on it, so my understanding is I think that's going to come up for a vote tomorrow. So I know we talked about this last time we were here, that we need to have all that land, at least a vote from the city council, that land will be part of the project before this board would be able to vote on it. We wanted to try tonight to address some of the issues that you have listed, that Aaron Clausen listed in the January 3rd memo after he received the updated plan. And I think we can go through that and hopefully try to address some of the matters. We also have a conservation meeting Wednesday night, which will probably discuss, again, the impact of the house being, the Bowers House remaining at that current location. Hopefully that will not be an issue. So at this point, I'll turn it over to questions. The traffic engineer, Ken Cram, cannot be here tonight. He had another prior engagement, so we will not have Ken for traffic studies, but anything you may direct, we can always go back and discuss it with Ken or with the city regarding the traffic and some of the issues that we earlier discussed, and some of the potential items that are going to come up regarding road widening and the curbing, sidewalks. Thank you.
So do you want to go through the list from Division of Plan Development now, or what's your request with that?
Well, I think some of the issues that are relevant for purposes of discussion tonight, signage, we know we're going to be back or get approval on signage at a later date, so we need to talk about signage at a later date. But we have some issues with regards to, we want to make sure that Planning Board is on board with the left and right turn into the property from Westford Street, also a left and right turn that comes into the property from Wood Street. We sat down with the city, with Adam and with Aaron, and we all agreed that that would be, that would work, but we want to make sure that everybody understands that that is really one of the big requirements of this project. There is going to be, my understanding, work to improve Wood Street with curbing and a sidewalk on the opposite side of the street where the apartments are. And there's some talk of improving the intersection of Westford and Wood Street. But that area along, and also area along Westford Street, to possibly have a sidewalk on the proposed development site on Westford Street. So those are some of the major issues. I think items regarding plantings and shade trees, I think those can be worked out. They've tried to make changes to the plan that would incorporate that, but I don't know if we're meeting all the requirements for the shade trees that they want in the area. There's a lot of vegetation at the area now. We want to try to preserve some of it along the back property line, but we also want the visibility of people coming down Wood Street and seeing the project in front of them, and have it be a a site that is pleasing to the eye and also, for safety purposes, is able to accommodate what the board is requiring.
But besides the traffic, I mean, the checklist we got from Mr. Clausen, I mean, some of these things were things that we gave you in October and November, and I think some of these should have to be addressed. I mean, like the erosion control devices, the catch basins located near the streets, the vegetation, the clearing area, replanting, the questions of stabilizing the slope to the resources. The project is subject to NPDES. I mean, questions of those, the land swap, we understand that. The signage, it'd be nice if we could see that with the whole plan instead of approve it later. Because I mentioned at the last planning board meeting, the signage could help us, and I think it could even help Eric and everybody else on how the traffic's gonna work. Then we have the question about the Caltech underground filtration system. We have the drainage and utility plan, the sewer line and the manhole to address. The water service not been identified in any of the plans as of yet. Sewer lines are still an issue on that. Mitigation
Yeah,
traffic impact.
I don't know if the plan you have up there, Mr. Chairman, is the plan that indicates that water lines have been shown on the plan now. There's been a revision from comments we received from Aaron, and the sewer line is shown on the plan. Also, regarding the Caltech system, that the Caltech system is being installed at the lower point where runoff will head towards Westford Street from the higher elevations, which are where the original home is located. So the best spot the engineer felt for that system was the location where it is. If we need to do an amendment on what type of planting would be there that maybe would interfere with the Caltech system, I'm sure we can do that, but we don't really want to move the system from that location. It's the best location according to the engineer. There was some issues with traffic indicating that maybe there would be some striping that would need to be done on Westford and Wood Street, and that would be regarding probably putting a crosswalk in that vicinity, bring an entrance onto the property at that Wood Street, Westford Street location so that people could cross the street at that locale, because there will not be any type of crosswalk at the entrance where the old Bowers home is located currently. Again, we need to have that land swap take place so that I think the engineer has shown that on the plan as being part of the parcel, even though they still needs the approval of the city council.
So the new plans that were submitted, what's the dates on, what are those dated? So some of those have been addressed in the comments, is that what happened, Mr. Kazanian? Okay. I get it, okay. So those just recently submitted too? Okay.
Yeah, I think this was, the memo from Aaron is January 3rd, and I think these were just completed with the revisions. Well, his revisions, the ones he looked at, were through 12/9, so these have, I think, some more revisions on them that talked about that.
If I, Mr. Chairman, may I ask
Sure,
a question?
go ahead, Mr. Boyle.
Counselor, did your client have these comments from Aaron's January 3rd memo?
I have those, I'm
in
looking at
time?
them.
Did you have those in time for the preparation of this new set of plans here?
Well, I think that was one of the issues. I'll let Alan Kazanjian speak to that.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, board members. Alan Kazanjian, Kazanjian Enterprise. We submitted the plan, I think, maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago to Aaron, in that time frame. And on January 3rd, we just got this memo of the things we had to change and not change. So over the weekend, we had an engineer do some work, and we just got the plans today. And over to you fellas, folks.
Okay, so these, all of these comments you had received, and this new set of plans we just received.
We just
was
received-
Was your response to these comments?
Correct.
So there's nothing on here that was, you'd be hearing, you didn't have the opportunity to address in the preparation of these plans?
Correct, right.
So you requesting that us to go forward on this tonight, or do you need more time to go to the city council, the conservation, and have planning staff look at the plans, or?
Well, that's what we'll probably like to do. I know you don't have enough time to digest the plans and look at them. We just gave you to tonight with the changes that we made on them, so we're probably gonna want to meet the next meeting, and, hopefully everybody is on board, and as far as whatever changes that we made on the site and the plan, and we'll meet the next meeting, and in the meantime, if Aaron does have this set of plans, if there's anything else that we have to change, I think we covered pretty much everything. The water, the sewer, everything's there. We did add some trees for the landscaping that was required. I think we addressed pretty much all the issues there.
So the main thing is, since the last meeting was, now we have a commitment that you're gonna keep that house, right?
The house is definitely staying.
I mean, that was the big thing from last time.
Everybody's on board for the house, the city's on board, we're on board, and that was our intention from day one, to save the house, so.
Just looking at some of the comments, I mean, one, I think there was a comment about whether the porch can stay, the way the traffic flows, or the other question is how the house would be maintained. Can you address either one of those, if you don't mind?
On this plan here, it's showing that the porch is gonna be taken off the house.
The what is?
The porch,
Okay, all right.
to get a better line sight for traffic. And the porch has been an addition that's not that old, so we feel historically that it's not a detriment to the house.
So what's your intentions to do with that house now? I know you had discussion before the last meeting. You
The
felt
house is going to stay just the way it is. We're going to preserve the house the best way we possibly can, and leave the house right there.
So will it be used for any
We're going to try to use it, yes, we can, yeah, absolutely.
office or whatever?
Well, that's what we'd like to do, yeah, that's what we'd like to do.
So get some
That's
use
where our
out of it.
intentions are.
Okay. All right. So therefore, if it's going to be used, then obviously you'll be updated and maintained, and that was when the
Oh, yeah,
questions were-
absolutely, yeah, that's what our plans are.
In terms of a construction schedule, when would the work to restore and redevelop the house take place? Before or after the construction of the other buildings?
Probably after that. The bank will be the first building that's going to be constructed. Then the retail office building will be constructed, and then the house will be next.
Okay.
So we're looking maybe a eight-month timeline, right around a year at the most.
So you're
And we've talked to Steve Stoll, met him a number of times, as far as what type of work we're going to do with the outside of the building. So we've been in touch with him a few times.
Okay. Okay, so you're here tonight, and your proposal is to construct the new buildings on the property, Mr. Kazanjian, and then when that's done, you're going to go back and take care of the historic building?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it is.
And we have a new rendering of the building that we propose to put up aside of the bank building. I think you have a copy of that.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is a big conceptual change, now that you're preserving and proposing to use the building. What you originally came in with was a proposal to build a bank building and another commercial building on the site where the Bowers House currently stands. But now that you're talking about preserving and redeveloping that historic building, in my mind, that becomes the core of the project. That is what's important that's going on here. You're restoring and redeveloping the Bowers House and putting two buildings on the property.
Yes, that's our plan right now, and it was our plan from day one until some changes were made.
The reuse of the Bowers House was your plan from day one?
Oh, absolutely. Our original plan had the Bowers House to be restored.
That's excellent to hear.
Yeah.
That idea restoring the Bowers House, and then constructing a couple more buildings to go along with it is potentially one of the most exciting projects outside of the core downtown of Lowell in quite some time. This, done properly, this could really be an important project. This could be a bragging rights project. The oldest house in Lowell, redeveloping that as office space, that could be an elite level space in this city, the way that, some of the space in some of the downtown buildings is. Truly a bragging rights facility for an attorney, an architect, somebody who would be able to have his clients there and show off a bit. And in addition, doing this house right could do that, could bring that same level of desirability to the rest of the property as well, if the construction on the rest of the property is done in a way that really takes advantage of that asset. This could be the Bowers House property with a Bowers House commercial building as well as a bank on the site. But it has to be done correctly. Putting any standard commercial building on the property next to even a beautifully restored Bowers House isn't going to fully take advantage of the opportunity that you have here. Going back and designing the building, the second building, large building, for the purpose of reflecting and carrying through the rest of the site the character, the features of that Bowers House is, in my mind, the big conceptual issue on this project. We can figure out internal circulation, we can figure out street trees and drainage, but there's really a big yes-no question here. Is the rest of what's being put onto this site going to be worthy of a real first-class restoration of the Bowers House?
Oh, I believe so. If you take a look at the rendering, we've got the buildings that are going to blend in with the Bowers House. And we know this is the gateway coming into the city from Route 3 corridor. So we do want to do a nice job.
The exterior detail of the bank, the proposed bank building, I think does a pretty good job of what I'm talking about. The second building, I think the second building is really what's going to require some attention here. Because of its size and because it's the building immediately next to the Bowers House, it becomes particularly important. So I look forward to collaborating and really making sure that this project accomplishes everything it could for you. The rest of what, we've got a lot more to get through in the review of this project, but that's detail level stuff, and we really need to hear from planning staff about your latest submittals before we can get into your driveway aprons and your signage and things like that. And so I think that really all we're going to be able to give you tonight is discussion about the higher conceptual level questions. And hearing that the Bowers House would be preserved and redeveloped is excellent news. I'm very glad to hear that. It puts this entire project in a different light. Thank you.
Okay. So, excuse me. Mr. Gazin, anybody else want to speak on your behalf and request for continuance? If not, then I'm going to turn it over to see if anybody else in the public wants to speak.
Continuance, is that what, yeah.
Is that what you're asking for? Okay.
Yes, I think that this way here, you'll have some time to really look at the plans, the revised plans, and
Okay. All right. So at this time, does anybody else in the public want to speak?
Thank you. My name is Brenda Maley. I live at 630 Princeton Boulevard, Unit Number 5, in Lowell. I'm also the president of the Brookside House Condominium Association. I live in a townhouse condominium, part of the Brookside House Condominium Association, which consists of 41 townhouse units in 4 buildings. We are direct abutters behind the site to be developed. I've spoken before the board previously, and I would just like to reiterate the concerns, my concerns, and the concerns of some of the neighbors in the that directly are impacted by the development of this site. One of the easier issues apparently is we have been advocating for sidewalks in that area, and I do understand that the plans will involve sidewalks on both Wood Street and Westford Street. So we would continue to advocate for sidewalks that will help people in that neighborhood walk. In addition, I agree with Mr. Boyle relative to the facade and the appearance of the second commercial building. We have advocated for the development to be done in such a way that it really adds to the aesthetics of the neighborhood. We agree that the bank building is a beautiful building and complements a residential style building. The original plan of the commercial building was really aesthetically unpleasing and did not complement either the bank building or potentially the restoration of the Bowers house. So I've had an opportunity to see a rendering of the potential changes to that building, and I think it's heading in the right direction with a peaked roof, and it appears that they're putting some clapboards on the side in order to, again, complement both what we perceive to be the restoration of the Bowers house and the bank building, but we would like, as Mr. Boyle indicated, a particular attention paid to that building so that it's really done to complement all the other buildings on the property. We have a specific need at the Brookside House condominiums that issues relative to drainage are addressed. We have a serious drainage issue there. I appeared before the Conservation Commission, and Conservation Commission is aware of the situation, and they're protecting, I believe, the interests of the neighborhood and the community in terms of the water flow. There is serious serious flooding during periods of severe rain and snow melt that we've experienced within the last 10 years, and I think I addressed some of that with you the last time. But we, of course, want the board to be continually mindful of the fact that drainage is a serious issue in that area. If you go there now, you can see Black Brook is really a fairly large ponding area that changes over time and depending on the season. But over the last several months, there's been back up there. I think some of it may have to do with some damming of the water, so I think that needs to be addressed. And I think the city hasn't been right on top of things in terms of clearing out the debris and the water flow that flows underneath Princeton Boulevard from Black Brook. So I think that needs to be addressed. So we need to have the city and whoever else would be responsible for taking care of the dams that occur on the property that causes, I think, some of that backup. We, of course, would like to see as many trees, green area, grass, and bushes remaining on the property. It is a heavily treed area now, and I think it makes it, and it's nice for the neighborhood so that when you drive into the city from Chelmsford in that area, we're not coming upon, excuse me, a concrete jungle, which just consists of buildings and parking areas. I think it's important to maintain the trees that are there. So anything that the board could do to ensure that trees and bush and grass continues to stay on the site, not just on the periphery of the site, which I assume is going to happen, but contained within the site as well. And finally, the other issue, which is, of course, a very serious issue, not only for the neighborhood, but anybody driving through the city of Lowell in that area, is the traffic flow. I expressed concern at the last meeting that I had serious concerns relative to left entrance, ingress, and left egress out of the property on Wood Street. I'm still concerned about how that will really happen. My understanding, of course, is that there'll be a third lane dedicated to a left-hand entrance into the property. I still think it's a very limited street. It's a narrow street, even with the land swap. I think the street is not going to be created wide enough to allow for a significant left-hand turn lane. So I would ask that the board does everything to protect the traffic in that area, to allow for the best traffic flow. Again, my concern is that you really cannot accomplish a safe and efficient left egress in, left ingress, left egress into the property from Wood Street. I understand the concerns on Westford Street. Westford Street is a much wider street. I think it would accommodate that more, but I understand that because the property is so close to the intersection that it doesn't provide for enough space between the intersection and where the entrance would be developed. So I don't know what can be done. I'm not an engineer, but I look to this board to make sure that those issues are addressed, and I feel confident that you will do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Attorney Mealy. Anybody else like to speak?
Yes, my name is John Hamblett. My address is 495 Varnum Avenue. Obviously, I spoke before you at the meeting last month, and we're delighted to see the new direction the plans have taken regarding 150 Wood Street. I believe in your file, you've probably heard from other members of the historical community. I know Paul Marion from the Lowell Heritage Partnership has written a letter on the historical significance of the building, as well as his organization's support, and also Corey Shuto from the Lowell Historical Society has included a note in your file. I'd like to take just 2 minutes to tell 2 stories about some of the feedback we've gotten. This was originally one of 19 houses that formed a semicircle from one side of the Merrimack around, with the Merrimack behind it. During the King Philip's War, the Indian attacks were brutal, and they developed this garrison house plan. We heard from a fellow, Stephen Day, who has identified his great-great 12 times grandfather as one of the soldiers in that house, and he's been able to document that. And in addition, after this house, Jareth Mel Bowers built a house in Groton, and historical research has been done on that, and a book has been written. And we've been contacted by both the historical researcher and the author. They have great interest in the original Bowers house. The porch, as far as what we could see in the plans, there was some research done on the building. The porch is from the early 1900s, and it's probably not historically significant. And so if the porch needs to go for any reason, I don't think the historical community is going to have a problem with that. Because the developer is a for-profit or hopes to be a for-profit organization, some of the grants that are normally available may not be available. There are preservation credits. I'm not expert enough to talk about preservation credits, but I know they're available. We're not clear on what is happening to the barn. It's got hash marks through it, so I'm not sure if that was to be preserved or if it's going to stay. Okay, great. So then the question that's really being asked now is what is the restoration plan? And I think Mr. Boyle has framed not only the concept last month of a social contract, but the concept now this month of the other buildings supporting this historical resource of Lowell. So we look forward to that. We have experience in restoring old buildings and working with the Mass Historic Commission. We have a list of historical architects. We have approved historical contractors if they're needed, and we're ready and available to help in any way that we can. We appreciate your support, and we appreciate the support of Kazanjian Enterprises. I'm not sure where the idea came from to turn the building around. I got the sense it might have been Adam, but Adam might have been taking credit for somebody else at DPD, and so I'd like to thank whoever that was that thought of turning the building around in order to save Lowell's oldest house. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Hi, I'm Jane Calvin with the Lowell Parks and Conservation Trust. And just for the record, I'm also the treasurer of the Lowell Heritage Partnership, and the trust is a member in the Lowell Historical Society, which have also submitted letters. I'm very pleased in the clear direction of this project to protect the Bowers House. For quite a while, I actually worked with the owner of the Bowers House, and he was kind enough to allow access to the home to several different potential funders, foundations, and such to try and protect the house. And we were really fortunate to have a BU student study the interior of the house to great detail. So that study is available, and I hope will be put to use, and she will be very happy with that. At the point, we're looking at all kinds of alternatives, and again, I'd like to thank Mr. Kearns for making that option available, and this new, very clear direction is very welcome. I'm glad to hear that the barn will stay. In the bigger picture, as far as the trust's involvement, we have been involved in the protection of Hawk Valley with the Varnum family up on Pawtucket Street, and with Mr. Coburn working on protecting and enhancing Coburn Park. And if you think about Middlesex Village and the Bowers House and the Varnum family's farm, Hawk Valley Farm, and the Coburns, these are some of the original farm homesteads in the community, in the region. Some of the first access across the Merrimack River. The history here is really pretty, almost I'd say profound for the area, if you think about just those three sites alone. So it's a wonderful direction. We're more than happy to work with you, having worked on the Spalding House and having done a full exterior restoration of the Spalding House, and the interior is in progress. We also have done the paint analysis on what color the exterior of the house should be, and have access to some of those people. So we'd be more than happy to lend a hand in that direction. So I will comment a little bit on the landscaping. Being the tree lady and all, I know you probably expect that. So I noticed, it seems in the plan that I have, it seems that there were originally 4 shade trees, and then 4 were added. There are no trees on the Westford Street corridor. There are no trees on the back edge of the corridor on the, I would say, 1095 Westford. I don't know what the address is officially, but the back edge. It is a nearly fully wooded site with significant trees. I'd like to work with the Conservation Commission on maybe protecting some of the significant ones at the back edge, hoping to protect from construction damage. I would like to see a different variety than the Armstrong and the Acer rubrum, the red maple, because essentially you're getting 8 trees of the same species. They're not the same species, but they're very closely related. This city is well overplanted with Acer rubrum, and we don't need any more. We could be a little bit more creative than that. I am concerned about the shade trees being planted right in front of the Bowers House, and one on the corner there. I think when you plant a big shade tree, you start mucking with the foundation, and we need to be careful of that. So I'm not sure what that distance is there. It looks about 10 feet or so, if I'm looking at the scale properly. So I just would like to be a little bit more thoughtful about the placement of trees. I, too, would hate to drive down Wood Street and all of a sudden see a concrete jungle with the nice Bowers House at the back. I think we need a little bit more of a softer aesthetic driving down Wood Street. That is a gateway to the city, really. And we need a softer aesthetic when you're hitting that corner. I understand that signage is an issue for Lowell 5, but I think if we could be a little bit more sensitive to that and add some more shade trees. And again, I'd be happy to work with DPD and Mr. Kazanjian to make that happen. Thank you very much for your time on this and consideration of my thoughts.
Thank you very much. Anybody else like to speak? If not, I'll turn over any comments the board members may have. Anybody else? Okay. Mr. Lockhart?
I have a comment and a couple of questions. I did speak with Steve Stoll just today about this project, and I'm probably not going to tell you anything you don't know already. The Historic Board is prepared to give you all the support you need in whatever you choose to do here in terms of preservation or rehab.
Yeah, thank you.
And he even came out and said if needed, we'll go to the national park and you know, use some of their expertise with their architects there.
Yeah, we did meet with Steve a couple, like 2 or 3 times at the site, and just went over with him a number of things that we need to do and not do. But yeah, I want to thank you for all
So
that. Thank
you
you.
have our full support on this.
Thank you.
And please feel free to contact me or him with anything that comes up. Just a couple of questions. This rendition here that you gave us this evening, and I have another small version of it, is good, but did somebody not say that you're going to provide some additional elevations with maybe some details on the architecture?
We can do that, sure.
I thought somebody had said that earlier. I think it would be helpful to just appreciate the architecture and how it blends into the whole area, if you could do that.
Right, and these buildings aren't going to be concrete buildings. The bank is going to be a wooden structure, and this building here we're going to do is going to be wood with also either fieldstone or brick. They're going to be nice looking buildings.
There's been a couple of questions about
We're going to make sure it blends in with,
how it all works together.
the Bowers
I think
house.
that would be very helpful. The other question I have, Aaron, if you maybe help out here. Attorney Curtis spoke about improvements to the intersection. Does the city have concrete plans over there to implement and improve that intersection?
So the extent of the work that the city engineer's office is taking the lead on and will be project managing this coming spring into the summer will be construction of a sidewalk and curbing along the western boundary of Wood Street. So if you're,
Yeah,
you're
okay.
behind you, if you're facing the property,
Right.
there'll be a
across the street
sidewalk.
It'll be
yeah,
across the street from
easy.
the, yeah.
There will be a
That's what we-
sidewalk and curbing,
that's what
and that's the extent of the enhancements that the city is taking part of. And this is a separate, this was a part of a capital plan that was separate from this project. It's been planned for
All
some
right,
time.
that's, okay, so, I'm really trying to, keying in on the comment made on the transportation engineer, Eric's memo dated January 2nd, the first item, the first bullet, about the proposed left turn lane on Wood Street does not provide enough detail on how the lane will be provided, on how it ties into the existing striping and layout of the street, and more detail is needed to really see how it's going to work. Will we be able to look at that point to see that it does work?
So are you asking,
At some point, we will be able to provide the detail.
well, that detail, it needs to be provided in this plan set from the applicant. The detail on what's going on the opposite side of the street is available at the city engineer's office, but the detailing on how the left turn lane ties into the existing and proposed layout of the street what needs to be detailed more in this plan set.
In this plan set?
Yes.
All right, so it has nothing to do with the
Correct.
projected work?
Right, and I think that, correct me if I'm wrong, Eric, but that includes
All right,
things like
all right.
lane
And that's,
striping.
you know, that's important,
curbing.
too. We can get that included. Traffic control around here is extremely important, and pedestrian safety as well, so.
Well, I agree.
Any
So,
of that detail that's appropriate. at
so
this
basically just having a striping, is that what we're looking for?
point. Yeah,
The turn lane is on the plan. You've seen that, correct?
Yes, the striping in front of the driveway along in front of the old house is there.
Okay.
We need to see how that ties into the street, you know, coming from Princeton Boulevard and extending it through the intersection at Wood and Westford.
Okay.
How everything ties together out there, because there is a left turn lane at Wood and Westford. You need to show how that will tie into your left turn lane.
Okay.
Site, and showing the, you know, the edge of the street on the opposite side of the road as well as the layout. Where does everything fall within the existing layout?
He has it broken down on the plan, but you want some striping?
Yeah, there's no property line on the other side of the road, seeing where that, how much road width do we have to work with out here? How much widening is possible? You know, where does this widening fall within the existing property line? of the
Okay,
street?
but he has the widths of the different lanes. You've seen that, correct?
He has the width of
Okay.
the lane, yes,
Okay.
but we need to see the property line on the other side too.
Okay.
Make sure that this widening isn't going into the landowner on the other side.
Okay.
Okay, that's, Aaron, is there anything else on this list that we should be, you want to address?
Well, I think it might be worth going through the entire discussion of the traffic, particularly with respect to Wood and the intersection of or Westford and Wood Street. I think some other comments there. I will speak for Eric again, but some
there are a number.
details
There are-
in the
There's
plans.
6 different comments here.
Right, for the intersection itself, we've discussed having a sidewalk constructed as a part of the project on Westford Street to connect with the adjoining property that has already constructed a sidewalk, connecting into the intersection with crosswalks, traffic signals, or pedestrian signals, and pedestrian buttons, so that, people can get across the intersection more easily and safely.
Right.
That's the kind of detailing of information that we believe should be provided with the plan set.
Okay.
We'll take care of that.
Well, there's just a couple other things on here. We might as well cover them while we looking at it. The bullet number 4 about vehicles larger than a passenger car will need to use the entire driveway width when turning right into the site from Wood Street. This will not be possible for vehicles in the driveway waiting to exit. I don't know.
Which one, what was that?
Major concern, but it's just an item that,
Okay.
should be addressed. And the dumpsters, the service on the dumpsters, it didn't look like there was enough room to,
Yeah, we'll enclose the dumpsters. Is that what,
right.
we'll put a fence around the dumpsters?
I'll just chime in on the issue of the driveway width. It looks, maybe something like a larger radius could make that work. I don't know if that's
Yeah, something simple.
something like that, as well as the existing radius at the old house. It looks like there's steps or something coming down right at the intersection there, which limits that corner as well.
Right.
So the right turns out would be very difficult as well.
Sure.
And then my comment about the dumpsters was just wondering, how does the truck access that area?
Yeah, it looked a little tight to me, too, when I looked at it quickly, but.
And we have a
Right on the
question, Eric, Aaron, if the board members don't mind. On the traffic signals, the buttons for crosswalk, is the city going to be taking care of that?
The city has no plans to do any signal work at this time.
Okay, is that a requirement that has to be?
It certainly is desirable to make this area more pedestrian-friendly, and, if you're building sidewalks in front of the site, you want to be able to get people to walk to your site. It's certainly a safety and improvement for existing pedestrians out there. Pedestrians are crossing the intersection now on their own. They don't have a pedestrian walk light.
What type of avenues do we have to go through to get
That
that
one.
done? But I'm David Gray. I work for Caseta Enterprise. What type of avenues do we need to go through to get those? I mean, is that a state thing or with
No,
the
this-
traffic signals, or is that a city
This
thing that we
signal
can deal with?
is a city-owned intersection, Westford and Wood.
Okay.
That's all ours. The one down at Princeton, that's state, but we're not asking for anything
Okay,
at this.
all right,
at this-
okay, so, all right. So we can work with the city on, okay.
Sure.
There'd be no state issues on that. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Before I turn it over to Jerry, so, is anything else, Mr. Eby, you want to, I know you don't have your traffic engineer here, so I'm not going to hold you to that.
Okay.
But I just want to know if, anything else, so you have a copy of his punch list that he gave us?
Right,
So you'll address that with your engineer, or
Correct.
traffic engineer?
correct.
Mr. Eby, I know you indicated what's on the punch list here, I just didn't know if, and Mr. Kazanjian said he'll go over this with his traffic engineer, who's not present this evening. Is there anything else that you want to state that basically not on the punch list, or what,
No, just,
or the main okay, what would you say is, I mean, like, one for the signs, we know those aren't difficult to require, so some of the main concerns would be like, the first thing on the left lane, the first thing you had, checked off, then the other ones would be the turning radiuses, correct?
Yeah, turning radius, and sight line is also very important.
What was the last one?
The sight line from the
Okay,
driveway.
Oh, the sight line, okay.
Yep.
Okay.
We need to see that that sight line can be met even with the porch removed. There's still a question, where the elevations and structures, from the driver's eye in the driveway looking up the street, can he see the required 200 feet?
So that's number 2 on your list, okay. I got you. So, all right. Okay, thank you. Mr. Bichette, any questions, comments?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just, and I think Attorney Curtis opened up his comments, basically putting it out there that really the most important thing they want to know out of us is whether or not we allow a left-hand turn in and out of the site. And so what I was hoping to see with the submittal of these plans was the bulleted items from Mr. Eby. So what I can tell you is, most important thing for me at this stage is, at the next meeting, is this memo from January 2nd to be thoroughly addressed by the traffic engineer that you have, or the transportation engineer, because that ultimately, and the zoning, the purpose of the zoning is to protect the health and welfare of the public, and what my concern is the safe access to that property and egress from the property. I think that's, I'm still having a hard time putting my arms around that, and it's a key site, a lot of potential, but I drove by that site several times yesterday and just trying to get my arms around how that's going to, how that's all going to fit in, and I think what Mr. Eby is describing, and even if your traffic engineer could reach out to Mr. Eby, because I'm a little concerned that we're not going to get what you're looking for as far as the actual layout of how that's all going to tie in, because I'm still having a hard time to see. I mean, we've had plans before when we actually get out on the site, it looks like it all works, but then when you measure it all out, it doesn't actually come out that way. So I'm a little concerned as to how that third dedicated lane is going to work. I mean, that's a crucial, it's a, everybody knows that it's a bend, and then with the sight line, the Bowers house is elevated on the site. So even though the roadway, matter of fact, I believe pitches slightly away from that, that point of egress, the site itself is elevated. So I think, the sight line is going to be important. We just don't want to create, and I stress this again with Walgreens, with the charter school, everything that we proposed was to at least improve, or if not anything at all, not make the conditions any worse than what currently exists in and around that area. What I'm terribly afraid of is that in an effort to create access to the site, we create a situation that is unsafe and makes that area a more dangerous area than what it is. So that's, I mean, you made it very clear that was your major concern, and that's a concern I have. And I haven't seen anything that come to a conclusion yet that we can't make it work, but I haven't seen anything that conclude that. The answer to those
Ken Cram
questions.
will be the engineer will address that, but we also sat down with the city.
Sure.
When this project first started, we had some input about turn lanes going in and out.
Right.
Without the house there, we sat down with the city, the house is gonna remain, but for the project to work, you have to have the turn lanes going in and out. I think once the city has done their part in curbing and correcting that, we take some of the land away from the entranceway, better sight line, maybe take the porch off of the Bowers house so you have a little bit better sight line with that. You do the striping that shows where the directions of the lanes are, and you do striping up at the intersection of Wood and Westford. I think you're going to be improving that area tremendously as opposed to what it is now. Now it's like a little raceway going around the corner, and there's no rhyme or reason to it. But I think once you have some direction, and that road is wide enough, according to the traffic engineer, especially on Westford Street, hopefully you're not going to have an issue with cars making that left turn into the project. But I think, as you said, tying in the striping, going back towards, it's a pretty good distance back to Princeton and Wood, so you kind of get a feel when you come through that intersection over the Rourke Bridge and you're heading out towards Drum Hill, you come upon this project where you'll have a turn lane, but there's also a lane going to the right that allows the traffic to continue flowing.
Right.
Striping does a lot to improve that, and I think once the curbing and the city has done their part and we've done ours, I think we're going to have a tremendous project with a lot better visibility and safety.
That's what I'm hoping for as well, but
Well,
I
we're going to have
I
the
need-
engineer
I
here
need
next
to
time. I
s-
wish he was here tonight. He
to see
couldn't make
that.
it.
No, I understand. One clarification, though, is, and I haven't had a chance to look at the new plans, but I did look at the plans that were submitted for this meeting, is there was a footnote, and I want to make sure it's very clear here. It says, "New curb line to be installed by city per conversation with city engineer's office," and that is on the site, on the side of the site. Can we have anything in writing from the engineer's office, or Aaron, I mean, do you have anything from them, or?
Again, the only scope of work that I'm aware of that the city engineer is going to be overseeing as part of city work is
Right.
on the other side of the street. What I could ask for, or seek from the city engineer is maybe a short description of that scope.
Right.
So there's clarity to that. There's going to be need, and I know the applicant and his design team has worked with the city engineer to identify where the curbing's going to be so that they can figure out how much space they have, how much between curb to curb to put the turn lanes in.
Right.
So there's been a conversation, but what I can do is get for everybody, a clear sense of what the city's doing
Right.
on Wood Street, maybe a short description of the scope of work. But my sense of that is, my understanding all along has been, it's the sidewalk and curbing on the other side of the street.
I mean, for the petitioner's sake, as well as to have a clear understanding, as if there's been some, and I'm assuming there's been some representation from this engineer's department that they were going to do this, some curbing on this side of the street? or-
Curbing on the proposed development site
Yeah.
on Wood Street.
That's what the plan is showing here. I just want to make sure we have,
I know, we're not talking about any sidewalk on that. The sidewalk's going on the opposite side where the apartments are, but
and again, that was
we'll
the
have to
plan
talk with
submitted.
engineering regarding that.
That was the plan submitted December 9th.
Excuse me.
And I think it's important we get that clarified, whether the city is doing that or not. Because that's going to have a bearing on, obviously, if it's done, who's responsible. And then, and I think everybody has touched base with it, but I know it was on Aaron's first list of items back in November, October of 21 items or so. And then on Aaron's most current list, item number 13, again, was the elevations for the commercial building. And I think everybody has, and again, I think to everybody in the room here, everybody's pleased to hear that the Bowers House will be part of the project, but understanding how crucial, and we have elevations for the bank building, I think that fits, and I think everybody appears to be in agreement with that. And, but I know, I think since October, it was listed on the request list, was to have elevations for that commercial building. I think that's, again, it's really for potential, and I know the petitioner wants to have the best site you possibly can have. It's to your advantage as well, so that we all work together to end up with the best site possible. But I think that will go a long way, and so we have a good, clear vision of the project, including that commercial building. So I think those are the major elements. Obviously, look forward to looking at the new plans. I'm assuming most of these items then have been addressed
A
on
lot
this
of
plan.
those items have been addressed, and
Okay.
we'll have a few weeks. This was all done on short notice, but we'll have a few weeks to talk with Aaron to address some of the other issues and also do some renderings, as we did for the bank building when we were here back in November, to show side view, front view, elevation,
elevations,
height,
right.
see exactly what that's going to look like, materials that are going to be used on the building, to get a little better idea than just a conceptual kind of artist drawing of what that building will look like.
Good, good. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Malovich, any questions?
No, I was not here at the November meeting, so I'm playing catch-up here, but a lot of the issues I saw in the older plans has been somewhat addressed in the new set that we got tonight. I probably will have more to say at the next meeting.
Okay, thank you, Bob. Joe, any further comments from, your early comments?
On the issue of the transportation design, which has come up, it seems like taking off that porch is going to solve a lot of your headaches. Really gives you some opportunity there, potentially to move shift the location of that driveway, maybe involving shifting the location of those parking spaces that are right off the driveway, and thereby giving you the radii that you need. Yeah, taking care of that sightline issue. Yeah, I was really concerned about that coming in. Hearing that the porch could go from a historic perspective really opens up some opportunity there. I want to emphasize that safe access to this site for pedestrians is very important. Although this is a suburban location, it's not a downtown Lowell location, it is also on a corridor which has become an important pedestrian route. People from all the way up on Princeton Boulevard walk to Drum Hill. You've got fairly dense residential development with the Blackbrook properties and the one on Princeton Boulevard, as well as the Brookside. And we've got a lot of destinations that people in that area like to walk to. In addition, Westford Street has become an important pedestrian route, also going out to Drum Hill. And now the development of this site, it's really going to be the final piece of the puzzle here. The second commercial building, have you decided retail versus office?
We're not sure which is going to be. We prefer office, but
This is the market.
right,
Yeah.
it depends what we can fit in there.
This could, it's going to be a bank, probably not a lot of walk-up business for whatever goes into the Bowers House, but the second building, the commercial building, that could very well be a significant destination for people in the neighborhood as well. And so we're going to take pedestrian access both along Wood Street and along Westford Street very seriously. Along those streets and how you get into the property for people taking those routes. The other comment I wanted to make, it's something for us to keep in mind, something for Mr. Eby to look at seriously, is the left turn in, left turn out issue. The idea of a turning lane for people coming south along Wood Street to take that left turn into the property, that gets them out of the way of the existing southbound traffic, and I think that's a good solution for left turn in. I have a lot more worries about left turn out from the property, which is going to involve crossing potentially 2 lanes of traffic, people waiting to turn left into the site, as well as the northbound traffic, and merging into that southbound traffic. I do not know if that can be done, providing an adequate level of service for people exiting the parking lot and providing a good enough, and preventing conflicts and providing a good enough level of service for the southbound traffic. I do note that there is an exit on Westford Street that people could come out of, get into the left turn lane from Westford onto Westford, and go that way, and thereby people on the site who want to take that left and go out as if they're going down Drum Hill Road, or people going out of the site and take that left and then another left out of Westford, would also be able to get to where they're going by using the Westford Street exit. And so I would definitely like a serious look made to be taken to the possibility of whether, if it cannot adequately be provided for people to make that left out of the site on Wood Street, if simply not having a left turn there and having people looking to turn left out of the site instead go out Westford Street and go that way, if that could be made to work. Okay, so left turn out of Wood Street, pedestrian access. Oh, yes, And I had one other question. At the last meeting, I made the comment that the number of interior square feet you have with the big 6,000, 6,200, whatever square foot building, plus the bank, was really stretching the site to the limit. And how many interior square feet can you get out of the Bowers building?
We're not sure, to
We're
be
not
honest
sure,
with you. Yeah, we're not sure.
But the plan that's before us still has all those same number of square feet that were on the plan from December, plus whatever is coming from the Bowers building.
Okay.
That, that concern that the site is really you're really pushing the envelope with the amount of square feet you're developing on this site and trying to accommodate with your interior circulation, that just becomes more critical with the additional, with the now a third building on the site.
Well, we do have adequate landscaping and green space and enough parking, more than enough parking for the site. So we could have gone bigger with the building to meet all the requirements, but we chose not to.
Yes, I recognize that you do meet the statutory minimums for number of parking spaces and for landscaped space.
And we changed the direction of the building to put some nice landscaping in front of the building on the Wood Street corridor.
And I will be interested to get comments from Mr. Eby about the internal circulation.
Okay, thank you. Okay.
But yeah, that remains a concern of mine. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, so I believe we had a request for continuance. How much time would you be looking for? We meet again on January 23rd, then we meet again February 3rd.
The 23rd will work if it works for the board.
Does that work for the planning staff to review the latest and get us comments a week or so before the meeting?
Yes, that's sufficient for us, yep.
Okay, before I take a vote on that, I think the only thing we would need then is, Attorney Curtis, I think we have a form requesting that this matter be continued, because once we've continued a couple of times, if we don't act on it, it could be proved accepted.
We can
Aaron, could you send-
agree to waive that requirement of the number of days
Not that we
before
have
it's
to act on
acted
it tonight, and
No, we know that.
even though that you recommended continuous, we give it to you, the courts have said it doesn't count until you sign the waiver.
That's
so-
fine. We're trying to move ahead. We have to
Yeah.
go to the city council tomorrow. We have
I
conservation
just wanted-
Wednesday, so
The housekeeping matter.
it's,
okay.
it's an ongoing matter, and we won't hold anybody to dates at this point.
Aaron, could you send him that form and have him send it over here tomorrow?
Absolutely.
That's not a problem, just to sign the waiver? Okay.
Yeah, we can
So
take care of
having that said, what we have before us is request to continue it to the January, that's on a Thursday night, January 23rd? Because that's the Martin Luther King holiday that Monday, so we meet that Thursday night. Okay, because on a Monday holiday, we go to Thursday night.
Okay.
So that'll be sufficient time, you requesting 23rd? Is that,
Fine.
so could
6:30.
we have a motion from somebody from?
Chairman, I make a motion that we continue the public hearing until our January 23rd meeting.
I'll second.
Motion on the floor and second, all in favor, say aye.
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 Okay, so the matter will be continued to that date.
Thank you very much.
everyone.
Thank you, members of the
Appreciate
board.
Thank you very much. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Gonna work.
Mr. Chairman? From a housekeeping perspective, getting around the statutory timeline, if this application were to be withdrawn and refiled, that would also allow Mr. Malovich to be a voting member?
Or he can just review the thing and sign the thing, and he comes in under the meeting.
Just watch the
Yeah,
tape?
he can look at the film.
Okay,
And then there's a signature form that he signs, and he gives it to Aaron.
so there's no real advantage to, okay, okay.
Yeah. That's that Mullen rule that we passed, how many years ago now? 3 or 4?
Yeah.
He took advantage of that? Yeah? Yeah. So if he just reviews it, watches the tape, I'll listen to the recording somehow.
Okay,
He can just sign the waiver, give it to Aaron, and then he's good to go.
okay.
Right, Alan, Aaron, we're just talking about, if Bob wasn't in November, he can review it and have you sign the notification with the Mullen rule, so we can go to the next meeting.
That's correct.
Right.
Absolutely,
I'll
yep,
explain, we've done that in the past, so if he has any questions, he can just double check with you how to do it and go from there.
exactly.
Just go, I'll get in touch with you.
Actually, if you just go on ltc.org on their webpage, you can go back and watch the link there, and I can provide you with the form.
Okay.
And then all you do is you sign a piece of paper, give it to Aaron that you did it, so. Thank you, Ms. Eby, we appreciate your
Yeah, thanks, Eric.
concerns and stressing that again for us.
Always important, huh?
Yeah, so, moving along, on the agenda, the only other thing that we had in our packet was the approval of the meeting schedule for 2014. I think we can just take that on the old business. Anybody have, can we approve that?
Hey, what's my, posted by,
You need a motion for that?
Sure, I'll make a
And, make a motion that we approve the 2014 schedule.
Motion's made and second. All in favor, say aye. Chair votes yes.
Aye.
Okay, go ahead. Oh, I'm sorry. Aaron, do you have any further discussion for the board, or any
There's
new or old
not a-
business?
And not a whole lot of new business. The only other thing I'll point out is I recognize I have the wrong application here, but there was a submittal for a residential project on 1514 Gorham Street that will be scheduled for public hearing on the 23rd. It's a very narrow parcel of land near the boundary to Chelmsford. It's by, I think, an animal hospital.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Linwood.
yeah, way out, that's way out, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, because, you know, when you drive out Grove Street, people think you go right into Barica, but you actually go into Chelmsford first.
Right,
Yeah, you do.
Yeah, so it's right before that little bridge, right after 495.
Right.
exactly.
That's,
Yeah,
that
that
all,
big
that's that,
apartment building,
a development that, what's his name, keeps coming in for.
River's Edge. yeah.
River's Edge,
It's
yeah.
just south of River's Edge, yeah.
Before that, we had the development there with the charter school one, that we even talked about going to where that, 1400 Motors used to be
Yeah.
and all that.
Yeah. So this is just a bit south of that. It's a very narrow and long parcel.
On the right or left-hand side?
It's on the same side as River's Edge.
Okay. And the animal hospital is right on the same
Exactly.
side. So is it past the animal hospital?
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
Just past it.
Because you have the highway right there, and then you hit Chelmsford for a short period of time.
Yep.
I think you only hit Chelmsford for like a mile and a half before you hit Barica.
If that, yeah,
Yeah, it's a
very
small sliver Chelmsford that goes right in through there.
So it's 6 units, site plan review, and
Who's the applicant on that?
site plan review. It is.
You know offhand?
I know Jim Flood is representing the applicant. It's 1514 Gorham Street LLC.
Okay, yeah, that's what most of them are, so, well, LLP or whichever it may be, so. Okay, so any further discussion from board members, from various boards or anything?
No, I have nothing tonight.
Bob?
now that, Steve has resigned from the board, is there any action that has to be taken to make me a full-time member?
I think that goes through the manager's office.
Yeah.
So who, do I call him, or?
Yeah, you could speak to him, because what happens is, the way I understand, and correct me if I'm wrong, so you were appointed as the alternate for a term for, I forget how long it was, probably a 5-year term?
Yeah,
So the manager could either have you fill his vacancy, or he could leave you as the alternate and appoint a new board member to fill Steve's job.
okay, I'll talk to him.
Yeah, so what happens is, I know Aaron and I talked today briefly about it, and Aaron and I were discussing that, where, what you said, there was emails going out about, people applying to planning board and the zoning board of appeals, and that.
Yeah, there's about 7 or 8 commissions and boards in the city that have open seats. So I know that there was a general call for interested folks who want to give lots of their time to the city for various reasons. And the planning board has 1 open seat, zoning board has actually 2 now, and the conservation
Mr.
commission.
Belanger become the city councilor?
Oh, that's right.
Yeah,
Corey, because they were down one
Corey,
before Corey
yeah.
got sworn in today, right?
yep.
I think on that process, you could tell him that you'd be interested in becoming a full board member, if you are.
Yeah,
He could do that and then point to, but I think it rests with him either way, how he wants to proceed on the matter.
Okay.
Okay? I'm pretty sure that's how it goes, but
That's right, yeah, the manager's,
appointed for a term, and if he changes that term, it's an act of the manager, I believe.
yeah.
it's absolutely right, yep.
Okay. So,
Until the time, though, that there is I'm sure this is probably obvious, but until the time that there's another member appointed, you're basically acting as a full member, because we need 5 members, so.
yeah, but then he said, if a new
Until that
person comes in, he could just stay as alternate, then, yeah, so.
Correct.
If he clarification wants to be no longer an alternate, but a full-time member, he could request that from the manager could make that
Absolutely.
appointment, right?
All right.
Okay.
Yep,
I'm pretty sure that's how the process goes, but obviously it's up to the manager.
I've never done that before.
No, because he's our first alternate.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Any other comments or concerns from the board members? If not, we can entertain.
Mr. Chairman?
Yep.
I do not have any comments about the Green Building Commission at this time. However, I hope to have some for you at the next meeting. There is a big meeting this Thursday. The city manager will be attending and discussing his plans for the commission in the coming year. It has been sort of searching for an identity, owing largely to its success. It was really, when they came in, the big push was for the stretch code, which was considered quite a stretch, and it succeeded. They got it, and for a while now, it's been, the board has been kind of in a now what mode, and come Thursday, we're going to have an answer to now what. So I look forward to discussing that.
Thinking of that, and maybe this is Kevin, I had a chance today just to look online, look at the local paper, and talked about using the landfill for solar panels.
Oh, yeah, 6,000.
That's pretty
It's
interesting, huh?
amazing, yeah, it's,
Really
So could
generating
you
some
just give us an
power.
update on that? I mean, what the, so how's that going? It's just, they're putting them in, they're gonna continue to put so many in to save the city all this millions of dollars per year.
yeah, they're already installed, it's just a matter of getting them plugged into the net, to the network.
Yeah, because I know before there was talk about it, and then all of a sudden, boom, I saw it, and I said, because sometimes they talk about a new bridge, but,
It was one of those things where the economics finally made a lot of sense, and my understanding is actually the per kilowatt hour cost that we're paying for that power is less than what we would pay National Grid.
Oh, wow.
So not only are we getting green energy, it's cheaper
And it's
energy,
great to be-
which is a twofer.
and, you know, it's really good to have that utilized.
Yeah.
Because you're talking about a gateway to the city, and that's
Yep.
sitting there for so long, and,
Yeah.
you know, now, you know, you get something valuable out of it.
Yeah, my understanding is once that's up and full running with the other solar arrays that were installed by the city, all 6% of the city's municipal electricity use will be from solar power. Wow. Which is a pretty good number. So
It is.
we're on our way.
So that's a big achievement for the city.
That's good.
I mean, congratulations, to everybody on board who worked on that.
It's
Oh,
one of the largest.
Out there by the water department.
Yeah, the water utility, it's over 600 kilowatt system, so that's a large system as well. Put it all together, and it's
Yeah, I
it's
didn't read
good.
the whole article, I just saw it quickly, they showed the picture of the landfill, and then it mentioned other places down further on the report, but, good, that'd be nice, so.
Yeah.
Okay, if no further discussion, to entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
A motion's made and second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes yes, we have adjourned, good luck, and thank you, everyone.
Aaron, any movement on Chestnut Street?